Hello there. Um, yeah, I have to say this is a quite unusual state that I'm in. I don't know what I'm talking about this quite often, how I feel or how I perceive myself, and maybe that's part of the problem. But I still think it's interesting to reasoning about because it impacts how you how productive you are and so forth. But it's also the case that thinking about it might be something that you do that makes you more of the state that you actually don't want, you actually do want to avoid, and that's part of the conclusion that I've come to recently, and yeah, just a couple of minutes ago I thought that because what happened today was that I was not hyper focused. I was actually, when I did study academic models, because I've tried to study like sort of like if it's as I wanted to be 5 hours, but it usually becomes 3 hours. Last 2 days it's been 3 hours. Today it was less than 3, I think, because some things kind of came up. And it's but today I really had bad focus, or at least that way I'm thinking. You know, when you're reading something and you're not really taking it in, you're but usually that when that happens, I stop or I just read again, because it's sort of you don't really get it. You're just reading without comprehending. And some people say, well, if you speed reading, that's what you want to do. You should just continue, not go back. It just inhibits your learning and so forth. But when you actually have a cast of mind that is sort of that you don't get something in, then it's yeah, I don't know. But it could also be the case that because if I do push on the speed, it seems as if it's the state that is wrong, not really how I'm not sure the process, the mode of like it's possible that the attitude, some techniques could make the attitude better and make your state better, therefore. But it's also true that if you do another technique and keep your attitude, which isn't the case with every technique, like for example speed reading, you can become sort of more focused in some sense because you're trying more. But so I really trying to figure out what happened, and I was hyper focused, sort of almost until like sort of 30 to 60 minutes before I started. All the things I did before that day was sort of focused, and I'm trying to think about again this product, this nootropic that I'm testing, how that affects and how it affects like when I take less or more caffeine and so forth. And like for example today, it among many other things that's in this product that I'm taking, one thing of them is caffeine, or sort of similar effect as caffeine. It's from another plant, I think, but it's still roughly the same chemical, I think. But it's equal to 1 cup of coffee. And of course a lot of other ingredients, but caffeine is one thing. But I think it's digested sort of more slowly, so you don't get everything as in caffeine. You get it more slowly throughout the day. So it really has, I guess, taking half a cup of coffee in the earlier and less later or something like that. But anyway, what I realized was that, or I thought, well, yesterday I took one cup of coffee that was sort of, I always take, almost never takes like a small cup of coffee, one sort of, I always take two or three at the same time sometimes. But so usually I take one big cup of coffee, which is two. And that's what I took yesterday, but since I've suspects that I've been drinking too much caffeine, today just take one small cup, like one cup, which is half, because if I go on Colia, that's the same amount as yesterday, although it would be less in the beginning and more later during the day, because from the nootropic it gets slower, but it's still anyway. But then when I got these sort of, I couldn't really focus. It's sort of like strange, because the product is made for making you focus more. And it said, well, if you don't have a good sleep, it's made to not work. And I thought that, well, I'm thinking now that it's quite strange still, because I usually it is strange, because well, put it this way, I think that one thing that could be contributing to that I can focus enough with this product as I want to is, but I'm still skeptical, because it's supposed to make you focus, and I've had a reasonable good sleep, I think, and still it's not working. And I found earlier that if I came to that state, I usually rest for a while, and then afterward it works. I actually get more focus than if I wouldn't be on the product. But with the disadvantage that I have to rest, sort of, and which is not really what I want to do when I'm studying. So usually when I do it, when I'm taking a pause, which you should take when you study usually, I close my eyes and just rest for a while, 5 to 10 minutes or something like that. But well, I think I mentioned it today when I start to study. I have several things that I do in the morning, like for 3 to 5 hours until I start studying. Partly I study the courses I'm doing, like 1 hour usually, but then afterwards I do the academic models that I want to study, and that's the 3 to 5 hours. Also 3 to 5 hours, actually, depending on if the first thing with walking my dog and eating and meditating and all that and studying. So, but then I'm sort of, as for today, when I did my last sort of repetition, which is the last thing I do before I start to study what I want to study, that's when I sort of burned out my sort of focus. I realized later on, and usually I wanted to be a half an hour maximum, but it accumulates more and more, so it took 1 hour today, in addition to some other things. But and after that I was sort of, I felt unfocused in some sense. I thought that, I just felt as if now I'm not going to be able to study that good. And so probably the best thing I could have done in hindsight, because it's still, I'm sort of been charging, or what's the word, building up for this, and sort of be determined to, yes, I will make, like, imagine studying 5 hours each day. That would be amazing. And then I could, when I finished at 6 p.m. and then I have, like, now I've shifted my night routine, so then I would have 5 to 6 hours doing whatever I want to until I go to bed, 11 or at midnight. But could be the case that I would need some rest. Maybe just 15 minutes would be quite good. But maybe I need 30 minutes or something like that, 45, to really recharge and be hyper-focused again, if I'm in that sort of state. Because, like, it's quite natural, like, and it's also the case that caffeine from the cup of coffee have an impact too, because that for sure makes you dip afterwards. But the strange thing is why the nootropic sort of kind of, because actually yesterday I had better focus, but I also realized that this product, it gives you a kind of calm focus and less procrastination tendency, so you're more inclined to do things. And even though that's not so happening that much when I'm in this state, this negative state, otherwise it's awesome, but you can really get positive experiences. But when in this sort of burned out state, you like, you get it easier to get there if you're so hyper focused as you usually are when I'm on this product. So usually, like, if everything was as it should be, so to speak, I would have this sort of hype throughout the day, and then the rest of the day, then I would be tired and need to sleep. But now it's like I'm burning through that, my capabilities of pushing through much faster for some reason. So I don't know. I don't know really what the reason is, but I should probably test, like, if that happens again, because it's reasonable if I'm going to do a 4 to 5 or 3 to 5 hour, especially if it's 5 hour continuous studying. Although I take 5 minutes break every 25 minutes, like the Pomodoro method, and in addition to that, after 3 sessions, I take 10 minutes. I heard somewhere after 3 hours you shouldn't study more than 3 hours, or that you should, after sort of 1.5 2 hours, you should take a half an hour break. But yeah, that could be the case. Maybe I should, like, those sort of rule of thumbs, so to speak, is probably good, and depending on your state, you have to read into when you need to take a break. And I was probably since this repetition had taken longer than I had hoped, I probably was more, should I say, more higher tendency to not wanting to take a break, because I wanted to continue do this. I don't wanted to waste time more. I had to start studying but in the reality it was, since, like, it was sort of a double negative effect. like if it takes half an hour extra doing this repetition thing, I will have lost one half an hour, and I would be what was I thinking? Like since I had lost 30 minutes and been hyper focused 30 minutes extra, I took that as an indication of I have to study immediately, because I've lost 30 minutes. But in reality, it was I had been focused for a longer time on another issue, which I couldn't save that. I had lost that 30 minutes, and in addition to that, I couldn't save sort of that burned out state, or whatever to call it. I should had to recharge, because I had done, among other things, an extra 30 minutes. So I guess because I'd really struggled with this, I thought that now when I plan to do all these hours of studying and I can't really focus, I have to do them. I was like, there are so few hours. The hours are just ticking, and I'm not doing what I want to do. And so I guess the lesson I have to take from this is that there are other considerations of why I need to take a break at that point. Like, I feel as if taking this nootropic should make me focused all day, but I can't expect, I guess, if I don't take a break. I do take breaks. And this is the issue. I did take some breaks. And still it continued. I did cook some food. But it was small breaks, or quite small, up to 15 minutes. But I guess for me, as I think I've said in the videos before this, if it's I have to put on a shirt or like doing these type of exercises, like speaking or writing or even just thinking, makes me more grounded, and I'm sort of recharging. I'm in this DM mode. I think I mentioned default mode, which is when you're more sort of, you're not just taking in, you're contemplating, you're going out from yourself, so to speak, and maybe that's what I need also when before starting studying and so forth. I can't just, because I thought, well, 1 hour a day would be awesome, amazing, doing these type of things, doing videos such as this one, or writing for an hour, or just thinking for an hour. Although thinking, I have to be more disciplined, because it is to start to think about other things, but it's still somewhat similar. If you're good at meditation, maybe you're better to control your mind in that type of exercise. But if I'm doing that, I probably have to do something like that when I, in the middle of the day, sort of take a break, do something else for half an hour to an hour, maybe even, and then. But it would be nice too, because it still feels as if sacrificing an hour of study But maybe that would change everything. Like I get 1 hour, 45 minutes at least, doing sort of recharging. Maybe it will make a tremendous impact. So yeah, I guess the thing is, if I feel I'm in that state, that bad state, the DM mode might be the solution, even though it's at the sacrifice of time spent studying. But it's really hard because I feel as if I'm not studying enough. And so, but if it really revolutionizes if it really makes my ability to focus that much better, maybe it's worth it. Hard to say though. But I had hoped not to. Because there is a voice in my head that is sort of like, how much do you really study? You don't study that much. Well, why are you not studying more? And that voice is, okay, I have to break down. What am I actually doing during a day? I mean, I'm awake for about not that much actually. I'm quite much of a sleeper. I think I need it, but so I'm usually in the bed 9 hours, maybe even 9.5, and so the rest is 14.5 hours. From 14.5 hours, I have 14.5, okay. Then you take 1 hour off for exercise and movement, or actually somewhat more, but yeah, 1 hour. And then we have just fixing with lunch and everything like that, and meals, which is usually when I eat when I studying, but it's sort of not cooking, but putting together with the meal. Takes sort of, could you say, half an hour each day? No, I think actually 40 minutes. We have to sort of slice things and yeah, so that's 45 minutes. So 1 hour and 45 minutes. Then I have meditation. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes. I added 30 minutes. So 2 hours and 15 minutes. And after that we have 3 hours and 15 minutes for 1 hour of studying the course I do. 3 hours and 15 minutes. And then I have daily repetition, which is half an hour. I want it to be at least. So then we have 3 hours and 45 minutes. Abstracted from, what did I say? 14 hours and 14.5 hours. So we have, did I say 3? Yeah, so it's 11 and 15 minutes, if I'm not, 11 and 15 minutes left. That's quite much. 11 and 15 minutes left. And I usually say that I have 5 to 6 hours after I'm done. 5 to 6 hours after I'm done. Let's say, yeah, it becomes, it's actually 6 hours because I go to bed at midnight, 12. So, okay. What did I say? 11 and 15. So it's 5 and 15. 5 and 15. Yeah, that's usually the case. 5 hours and 15 minutes. I've said 5 hours. And I guess it's other things such as cooking food. And where did that disappear today? I started at 2 instead of at 1, so that's 1 hour gone, mainly because I was a half an hour later up from bed. So it was 9.5 hours from. Wait a minute. Did I? I actually took 14.5, not 14. No, or not 15, I mean. So that doesn't count. It must have come from somewhere else. A daily repetition took half an hour longer. So the issue is really from 9:30 to 2 o'clock. 9:30. I do know though that except for daily repetition to 30 minutes extra, I also know that I felt as if in the morning I did read some history. I read On the Shortness of Life from Seneca while I was eating breakfast, and I thought that's a good thing to do when you're eating breakfast, so you're not. And I guessed, if I'm not totally mistaken, if I remember right, yeah, at 10, well, it must have been 10:45 when I went down to run with my dog. So 10:45. So it took 1 hour and 15 minutes. Take out meditation. It take 45 minutes for me to sort of get up and eat breakfast and all that. I brush my teeth. So I really don't. Okay, so that's, as I said, 45 minutes in addition to the other. So that's 1 hour and 15 minutes. 1 hour and 15 minutes. Where were I earlier? I said 5 and 15. So now it's down to 4. Well, yeah, that's actually the case. 4 hours I would have studied if it wasn't for my mother showing up, and I think it was something more I did, although I can't quite remember, because when I thought about how much have I been studying today, I thought maybe I've done more than 4 sessions at least, and that would be equivalent to 4 sessions would be only 2 hours. I know it was more, so it's probably 2.5 hours, maybe somewhat more even, but around 2.5 hours. So that means that it was not, well, 1.5 hours that disappeared. And I think, say, 25 minutes was because my mother was here. No, 20 minutes, can't be that. So, okay, what did I say? 1 hour and 15 minutes. This must be really boring to listen to, but 1 hour and 15 minutes, yeah, that's still 5 minutes. and during those I did cook some food because I had to, but that cannot have been more than, I don't remember, 15 minutes. It's still 40 minutes that disappeared. That's strange. Although it could be I've studied more, but the thing is, I don't get it. Where do I spend my time? It's such a ridiculous question because it's obvious. You don't know what you spend your time on, but it just disappears in some sense. It's ironic. I guess that I prepared a meal too. That's the reason. I prepared a meal, my last meal. And so yeah. Yeah, I don't get it really. It's time just disappears. So one thing I had to look into is how do I what do I do with that, with what I call daily repetition? Because it takes a lot of time, and there are several reasons for why it takes so much time, but I guess like when I think an idea is really good, I usually put it sort of, this I have to repeat again. It's not enough so it accumulates. And I should probably put those ideas in a separate document to be looked at when I feel, well, now I have a lot of time going back to these things. So yeah. But that will take some time to sort out. But I guess it might be the case that I will have to every time when I repeating something that's been already repeated more than my systematic sort of 3 days ago, 1 day ago, a week, 1 month, or 3 months, the repetitions that's not only those, I should probably transport to another document, and I could do it in a session, just take time to do it, but I don't think it's the right time to do it today. Today I have so many other things to think about, but I should probably do it when I'm doing this daily repetition thing. So when I'm repeating something and it comes to me like, okay, this is an additional thing I've added to this date, which is usually the case, then I should remove it and put it in another document, and maybe visit that once a week or something. Well, that will accumulate too, so I don't know how to navigate that, but to pick out the most central ideas is probably a good thing to do. The things that really have stuck with me, because that's daily thoughts or ideas that I think are really important, that I write down, but not everyone feel as that important later on. So then I can, yeah. So how do I? What's next? I'm not totally sure this will give me much more. I'm sort of too much stressed of what I want to do, because now it's been, I guess the time is sort of 7 or 7:30 soon. Probably something like that. And so I have what is it? Somewhat like 4.5 hours before I. Hello there, dog. Hej fixen. Är det bra med dig? Ja. Ja, det är busig. Ja, det är busig hund. Ja. Sorry for my Swedish. Can't help it. He doesn't understand English. I'm not comfortable talking with him in English. Oh, he really likes me, I guess. Quite much, at least, I hope. So I think that, you want to be him? Yeah. This is the book I read in the morning, by the way. This one. Seneca. Say hey. Maketas. So, yeah. I have to get out with him, and I usually, I do a lot of things. I will end here because I have to think things through, be even more in default mode, thinking deeper, not talking at the same time. See you next time.